Welcome to the Flaming Greek, the hottest cooking show on the planet. Watch the hilarious duo cooking up adventure with the help of the torch.
Oops. Ta-da!
Watch The Flaming Greek and Cammy on Foody TV. www.theflaminggreek.com.
Welcome to this episode of The Flaming Greek. I'm Cammy, and this is the Greek, and we have a very special guest, Mark.
Mark, how are you? Welcome to the show. Thanks for showing up, and I see we got the beef.
We got the beef.
We got the beef.
We have the best beef. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you do. And you're with what company?
With Master Purveyors.
And you're located?
In Hunts Point in the Bronx, New
Yeah,
York.
that's right. We were down there yesterday, and you gave us a great tour and really just opened our eyes about what's going on with the beef. So what do we have here? What cut is this?
Well, sort of, this is a rib cut. It's a 103 rib. Under basically USDA guidelines, all meat cuts have a number, a
Right.
USDA number. And the number of a rib is signified by 103, which is the long bone.
Right.
As most people would know it as a tomahawk.
Right.
Right? And from a 103 rib, we can cut it down to a 109 rib, which is an oven-ready rib, where we just basically take the bones down, cut them shorter,
Right.
and take some of the fat and meat off the cover and tie it back with string so you can roast it. We can also do cowboy steaks from a 109, or we can actually make the bones a little shorter than the 109, and we call that an export rib.
So if I could just, for the people at the audience, a 103, is it determined by the length of the actual bone?
That's correct,
Wow. Okay, and then when you cut it down shorter, it's a 109?
right?
And that's basically what you see in the grocery store, all packaged up nicely.
That's with the bone.
Right.
And when you take the bone off,
Right.
remove the bone altogether,
Right.
it becomes a ribeye.
So butcher talk.
Right, it's a boneless rib. Now, a lot of the misunderstandings when you hear about ribs or ribeyes, people sometimes say a bone-in ribeye cut, and that's inconsistent. It's like an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a bone-in ribeye, because a ribeye is boneless. So you really can't have a boneless piece of meat called a ribeye and then say it's a boneless ribeye with the bone in it. Sort of, it's inconsistent.
Right.
Right.
So I hear a lot of people say it's like a ribeye with the bone, and that's really just a rib steak with the bone, or a cowboy.
So how would they permit it, like, because I understand you actually sell to like Smith and Lewinsky and some of the top steakhouses in the United States.
So maybe to give you a little background, my dad, Sam, started our company in 1957 in Lower Manhattan on Washington Street. And we've been in the business for about 57 years. I came in later, naturally.
Right.
My brother, Scott, is a little older than I am.
Right.
And he's been in the business since 1980. And I came into the business in the mid-90s. And my father came from Europe. His father was a butcher and a farmer, and taught my dad how to butcher. And my father taught my brother and I how to butcher. And my son now is 20. And he's in school in Emory, and he's actually working during the summers. And he's in the business too, working with us.
So you've been in the business now for 20 years.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
actually, longer than that.
Right, but you're an attorney. Get
Attorney
this, guys.
by profession.
Yeah.
You know, when my brother got carted off from midway through college, my father said it's time to come into the business. I made a commitment that there was no way I was going into the meat business right from high school.
Right.
So I committed to going to college, to enjoy myself. My brother was, slaving
Right.
at 2 o'clock in the morning at the time with my father, and I said, you know what? There's no way I'm going right into the business after college, so I did another 3 years
Well,
of
that
law
was a very
school.
smart thing to
It
do,
got you.
though. It was very smart.
So I figured, let me practice a little bit.
Right.
Practiced law for a couple of years, and then my father came to me when he was at 67 and said, I want to retire. You got to come into the business now. You have to stop playing, your hobby, being a lawyer,
Right.
and
Get to work.
get
Yeah,
to work.
get to work.
He
Get
said,
going.
stop playing games. So at 67, I said, I'll go into the business. So the three of us started working, together. And my father's now 87, and he still hasn't retired. He still works in the place 60 hours, 65
Right.
hours a week, 5 days.
And your mom lives in Florida. He goes back and forth.
My mom goes to Florida 6 months out of the year.
Right.
She goes to Florida in October and comes back in April.
Snowbirds, we call them.
Right. She loves it.
Yeah.
My father loves it. He goes down to Florida once a month, maybe for a weekend. And my mother thinks it's great. She has him up in New York, you know.
Yeah, she's enjoying the summer sun.
She golfs, she plays tennis.
Yeah.
She's loving it down there.
How long has your parents been married?
Oh, it's gone for 60 years now.
Yeah, you see, take that vacation every once in a while and it works.
Well, yeah, I guess they have the secret to the
Right.
to
Longevity.
marriage.
Yeah.
You know, keeping everyone apart.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So what are we going to do with this today, Mark?
Okay, so what I did was, to give you a little background about Masters, my father started the company in '57 with the idea that he was going to sell the best that was available. All he knew was best quality cattle when he came from Europe. So because he didn't speak English and he really didn't understand exactly how the U.S. economy operated, he knew that if he was going to deal with just the best, he'd always have clients and customers that would want that. So he started off selling to the 21 Club in '59. Peter Luger's came to him in '59. And he's been selling Peter Luger's actually for the last 57 years.
And that's a top-rated steak house in the United States.
It is. It's one of the top.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about Peter Luger's is that my father started the company greeting Saul Foreman, who was the original owner,
Right.
at the front door, shaking his hand and showing him the meat.
Right.
And they stamp their own meat. Peter Luger's comes and stamps their own product every single week.
So that's what you were saying to us yesterday, remember, Cammie?
Yes.
That you had all that beef there, and they come in actually with
Yeah.
other, let's say, sellers of beef. They don't let their clients do that. They come and look and inspect, they stamp it, they buy it.
We have an open door policy. We're very proud of the meat that we sell. And interesting that 5 generations of the people at Peter Luger's have been coming to Masters every single week and greeting my father at the door. So we had Saul greeting my dad, and he had his wife greeting my father at the door at Masters to stamp meat. And then the daughters, Saul's daughters came to Masters, and they were stamping meat, greeting my father at the door. And then the granddaughter was coming down, Jody comes down, and now they have the great-grandchildren coming to Masters, stamping the meat. And my father's still greeting the same family over 57 years,
Wow.
It's crazy.
week in and week out. And we've been selling to Wolfgang Steakhouse, Benjamin's, Ben and Jack's, Ryan and Cooper Steakhouse. We bring meat to Florida, to Wolfgang's, to
Diplomat?
the Diplomat, and RPM in Chicago.
What's that? Prime in Boca? Do you do that too?
No.
No. You gotta.
We can't sell everybody.
Well, listen. After this, you should be able to.
Well, with us, our concept and our philosophy is quality first.
Right.
So we get the best meat, the best cattle in the country, and it can't always be the cheapest product in the country because we demand a lot from our packers, from farmers, and we pay extra money to get the meat brought to us that way. So we can compromise on sometimes on price, but not on quality. And sometimes compromising on price isn't enough,
Right.
and we can't sell everybody.
Right. I got you.
So I brought a rib, actually, to show you how it's broken down and how we utilize all the parts of it.
Okay. Let's
So-
go.
I'm excited to see this. I get it. I'm like, rip it apart.
I want to hurry up and cook it.
Okay, so what we have is the 103 rib. This is a prime rib, and they're basically 3 different grade qualities of the USDA: the select, choice, and prime. Those 3 grade qualities is what determines how good a piece of meat it will be. So USDA will say the more marbling, and the marbling is the intramuscular fat that you see in the eye of the muscle, and that's going to melt through the cooking process and be really juicy. And the more marbling you have, the more intramuscular fat you have, the more juice and also more flavor you're going to have in the cut. So this piece of meat here that brought is USDA prime, and as you can see on the back of the rib, right, it's graded prime right here.
Yep. And what's
And
this?
it's rolled. Well, every piece of meat is tagged right? So when they're done at harvesting it in the processing plant, they'll put down a tag where it came from. This happens to be a kosher tag because you can see.
Yeah.
You see the kosher Hebrew
right,
writing?
Right.
This comes from the front of the animal.
Hebrew.
And we got this from a plant, actually local. And this animal is an Angus animal that was processed kosher. And we buy local also, as well as not just local, but also from the Midwest. We're quality oriented, so we're just gonna get the best beef wherever it is. And this cut here, and this plant in New Jersey, provides us great quality beef that's local.
Is that black Angus?
Yeah,
Angus is all black.
Right. Well, Black Angus is a breed.
Right.
And there's 87 different breeds of steers in the United States.
Now, can you do this? Now that you hit on that, what's the difference between a steer and a bull?
Well, they're both male.
Right.
Bulls are for breeding.
Okay.
And you can't have every bull breeding.
Right.
And we need to, raise cattle for feeding.
Right.
So in order to ensure that this piece of meat is going to be tender, they try to minimize the hormone level that's produced inside the animal, which is testosterone.
Right.
So the only way they could, it's hard to, I don't know how the audience is going to take it, but
Give it to them straight.
well,
Snip
they
it. They're gonna snip
basically
it.
castrate.
They gotta snip the manhood.
Right, they snip
Cammy
it in.
knows.
Yeah.
And they prevent the animal from producing testosterone, and that will actually eliminate the hormones from making the muscle more tough. So these are all steers.
So every piece of beef is not created equal, and you guys are real special because you take that time in order to see to it that it is Angus, that it is grown properly. There's no hormones,
Well-
correct? And it's what, no older than 30 months, you were saying?
Yeah, the USDA has strict guidelines, and any piece of meat that has the bones still in it
Right.
has to be under 30 months. So if they're harvesting cattle that's under 30 months, the bone can stay in it. So that's how you get your porterhouse steak, your rib steaks, your sirloin steaks, or Kansas City steaks. Those are bone in. All those cattle have to be 30 months and younger. Anything that's 30 months or older, the bone has to be removed. And that's
these are 30 months? This is what the size that it would come to?
well, this is all 30 months and younger. My cattle that we get, basically,
That's big for 30 months.
well, this is actually 24 months. Yeah, the cattle we get is basically 24 months on average.
Right.
It's pretty big.
So they're young, they're babies.
Yeah.
Well, they're young, and they're also very, very tasty.
Yes, they are.
They are really good.
All right, so
Well, I can't wait to use this on that. The torch.
if you'd like, I can remove and break it down and bring it to like a steak form so you
Right.
can cook it. So basically, we'll take the rib. Cammy, would you mind passing me the utensils?
Of course. Here's one.
Thank you.
Here's two. And three.
Thank you. Okay, so the important thing, what we do in order to make a steak, we've got to remove certain bones so we can cut through the meat without hitting a bone naturally. So we take the rib, and what I'm removing is the bottom part of the bone.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen this happen before. This is so interesting.
This is the back part, and we call this a feather bone.
Feather bone.
As you can see, it's got,
It has like it looks almost like a little feather, yeah.
so these are all feather bones. Remove that. Now, the important thing to do is once we have the rib,
As a master butcher.
we need to remove this big piece of
Yeah.
fat.
Skin
let's
or
see you do
fat,
that.
or is
It's a
that
fat
skin or
cover,
fat?
yeah.
Is that skin or fat?
This is fat.
It almost looks like skin to me.
No. The skin was removed,
Oh, okay.
So it's a grizzle.
a few days ago.
Yeah.
This is all fat. This is what is in between the muscle
Uh-huh.
and the skin.
Right.
We call it hide,
Right.
right?
That's what Rocky was beating on in the movie, right?
Right. So we take the knife and we come across the bone section. Okay. What we try to do is we open it up. Okay.
I see you're pretty good at this because you got all your fingers.
We try. It didn't always work out that way.
Right. That's why we
You
call
live
you.
and learn.
I know a fingerless Freddy who's in the textile business.
And the idea is to take this cap, we call it a fat cap, off of the rib.
A fat cat?
Fat cap.
Oh, fat cat. A cap, rather.
C-A-P. Okay. So, when you're in the butcher shop, the idea is to be able to pull it away from the bone.
Wow.
So we remove the cap from the bone. So we can, basically, you can make beef stew from the cover,
Right.
pepper steak. We take this meat, we actually grind it and mix it with some of our other meats
Right.
to make our own secret,
Blend.
special blends for our burgers. We actually just started a online butcher shop. So,
We got burgers here today.
and how were they?
We're gonna do them.
Oh,
I'm gonna
great.
make a burger. I'm gonna make a steak. I'm gonna torch something. And
So, moving the cover.
Wow.
See, comes right off.
beautiful.
Right?
You want me to take this?
Sure, that's great. So let me just cut it through here. Now, to give you an example, whoops, give me an example. This is the cover of
Right.
the rib, pretty big.
Yeah.
And in here, you have deckle meat. You have rib cap meat, they call it. You may see in the supermarket rib cap meat or deckle meat. This meat here is very good for pepper steak and stewing, braising. Not very good for grilling because it's a little tough, but very good for breaking down to other cuts.
So you can
the Vita
marinate
meat-
that, right? You could take that and marinate that like a skirt steak, and it comes out like butter.
Yeah, if you can marinate it, you can
Right.
tenderize it a little bit.
Sure.
And yeah, you can do that as well. There are other cuts inside the sear that are probably maybe better for,
Right.
like a skirt. There's no substitute for a skirt steak. Skirt steak's one of my favorites. And you can see that it's all prime.
Yes.
And this number here, this 3, see this 3?
Yeah.
Cammy?
Yeah.
Can the audience see the 3? That's the yield grade. So the USDA says this is a yield 3. Now there's 5 levels, 1 through 5. 1 being the leanest,
Right.
5 being the fattiest.
Right.
The optimal number is a 3, right? It's right in the middle.
Right.
So what we try to do is we try to get a piece of beef that doesn't have a lot of fat cover on it, a thick fat on the top, so we don't lose yield when we're trimming it down to steaks.
So they only know, excuse me, it's a 3 once you get the actual steer to this point. So you don't know beforehand.
Well, they don't know when it's walking. a little
Right.
bit.
They got to slaughter it first.
Once they process it
Right.
and they look at it and they can see how much
Now, how heavy is that little
You
piece?
wanna hold it?
Yeah, I want to hold it.
No, it's heavy.
this piece of meat is probably about 18
Yeah,
pounds.
but you're gonna. Let me get you a paper towel.
Why? I could put on gloves instead. I just want to hold.
Go like that.
Okay.
All right, let her have it,
Oh
Mark.
my god. Holy crap. I think you could do a workout with that.
All right, stand there. She could hold that while you cut that.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
I get my muscles.
1, 2, 3. That's a big piece of beef, Ken.
So now you can see that this piece of beef is highly marbled. Here are the bones, right? And now it's got the fat on the top.
Right.
So to make steaks, right? What we need to do,
Steaks.
we need to basically, we like to French them.
Right.
What Frenching is, we'll take the meat in between the bones, clean
Right.
the bones, so
Right.
you have a handle.
Right.
Right? This we call basically tomahawks. So we take about 1 inch off the top, right? Cut 1 inch to the back, and
So you're gonna take the bone off down to there.
well, I'm gonna leave the bone on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
take all the
yeah,
fat
yeah,
around
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? So we're gonna make it basically nice and clean. Clean the bone.
Not tired, though, yeah?
I'm not that strong. It's pretty heavy. So this technique is called Frenching,
Right.
but you're not tonguing the meat.
No.
So what exactly, how do you French a meat?
So I'll show you. What we do is, Frenching is basically making the bone exposed so you can clean it up.
Throw it in here, Mark.
Oh,
Whatever
great.
you want to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So these are good scraps, yes?
Oh, that's great. This is the meat that goes in between the rib cage, right? That's very flavorful. So if you ever had a rib steak
We're going to cook this
and
up.
you eat and you try chewing on the bone,
Right.
this
That's
is the
what you're
meat
gnawing
that you're
at.
gnawing at, and that's really flavorful. It's probably one of my favorite part of the rib steak is to get to the bone part. So after we take the meat out in between, we clean it up.
When you take it off the top of the bone, you like pull it off?
We
Because
clean.
that's like what? What is that? What is this called?
That's fat.
Fat. Oh, really?
Mhm.
I thought that was fat.
That is too.
Oh,
The grizzle.
So you either have
grizzly.
bone, like muscle, or fat.
So how do you tell the difference between muscle and fat when you're cutting these?
Well, the fat's basically all white.
Uh-huh.
If there's any red, any muscle running through it, then you have to make a decision whether it's part of the muscle, the main steak, or whether it's going to be part of something you eliminate.
Right.
Like the cover that we took off, that has fat and meat that you grabbed, you were weighing off like your weightlifting.
Yeah, it's weightlifting. This big piece right here.
That has muscle and fat in it, and we're gonna break that down afterwards.
Right.
So we can use that maybe for stews or for some.
Right.
you
Leave
ever
it
say-
like maybe like in a crock pot or something. Get like soak it in there, flavors and
In 8 hours later, you got a meal.
oh, delicious.
So we basically clean off the bones.
Making everybody hungry out there and our audience.
When we basically like to, when you clean the bone, so it doesn't have any partings of fat.
Well, see, the torch man would do the job for me there.
Yes.
But what I would do for the presentation is wrap these in aluminum foil, so I wouldn't, char the bones.
But you couldn't even fit that in an oven, could you?
Oh yeah, I
You could?
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so
You're right.
we're ready
did.
to make steaks, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes,
Getting
we're ready to make
hungry.
steaks.
see, all this goes into the preparation of the steak before
Right.
you're gonna cut it. So just give you an idea. We have
Beautiful,
the steak
very
here,
beautiful.
right? So I'm going to take the bigger knife. and
It
I'm
looks like a bear's foot with a lot of toes.
okay,
Well, if you're out in the wilderness, you'd like to run into this.
so just basically take the knife.
And there, that's what you got, your
Holy
ribeye.
moly, that's a lot of meat.
That is like
Wow.
so cool, right?
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. That is cool.
Beautiful. Just absolutely perfect.
Right, so you see the nice marbling of
Yes.
evenly distributed throughout the
Yes.
whole rib.
And what's the reasoning for that? Is that what you feed them, or
Yeah,
are
so
they active? Are they walking around? Do they stay in one place?
well, they're actually walking around. You know, a steer actually is on grass
Right.
for at least a good part of its life. It's 12 to 16 months. They're all on grass. It's not till the latter part where they'll actually put them on grains, feed, which would help increase the amount of intramuscular fat.
Right.
So the feeds that they give them is they've got wheat, barley,
Roughage.
corn, rice silage.
Right.
You know,
So
like-
now the silage is the actual corn husk they ground down?
Mixed
Right.
grunt.
Right.
Yeah, grunt.
exactly. So they utilize everything. So once they're utilizing the corn, they'll take the stalk, they'll chop that into powder.
Right.
Like when you take a tree
Right.
and you want to get rid of a tree trunk.
Sawdust.
Sawdust. They'll take that, they'll put that and mix that into the feed,
Right.
so it gives it roughage.
Right.
You know, so the animal can process the feed.
Right.
And
That's responsible for the marble?
right.
Wow.
Interesting. I
Well-
never knew that.
Now you need to have a specific type of, the breeds we were talking about before. We handle Angus and Hereford, the best breeds that are available in the United States are the Angus and Hereford breeds. There's 87 different breeds, and they're crossbreeding with different animals depending on whether they need to make weight, right? To make a bigger animal,
Right.
they'll crossbreed it, let's say, with a limousine.
Right.
The limousine has a
Right.
bigger animal.
Right.
So depending on what part of the country they're being raised, whether the climate's, conducive for that particular animal. So if we have Texas, Florida, or warmer climates, they'll raise cattle in those states that are better situated to handle that kind of weather. Asian animals, Brahmin animals, the long horns like you see in the cowboy movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Those animals actually handle the heat better. They'll drink more, they won't eat as much, and what we need these animals to do is eat more.
Yeah, you need to eat so you can get the marbling, correct?
Perfect.
So now we're going to take 2 steaks and cook them in the next show.
Yeah, and listen, thanks for watching this butchering show. This guy's great. He's got the beef. We're going to be back, and we're going to torch these things.
For a copy of any of the recipes that you've seen on today's program, please purchase the Flaming Greek and Cami Cookbook, a delightful, colorful page photo coffee table cookbook that will have you and your family enjoying these recipes in the convenience of your own home. Cook with the Flaming Greek. To purchase the cookbook, log on to theflaminggreek.com. The price is $44.95 plus shipping and handling. Offer made by the Flaming Greek Production.